Hey everyone, welcome back to Steve's View. There's a quiet question floating around Washington right now that could turn into a political earthquake in 2026. And that question is this: is Justice Samuel Alito going to retire? And if he does, what does that mean for the midterm elections, for the Senate, for Donald Trump, and for the balance of power on the Supreme Court for the next generation? Now, if you don't live and breathe Supreme Court politics, you might be thinking, okay, why does this matter? Justices retire all the time. But here's the thing. Supreme Court retirements are never just personal decisions anymore. They are strategic. They are political. And in this environment, they are explosive. Justice Samuel Alito, appointed by George W. Bush back in 2006, is one of the most reliably conservative justices on the court. Alongside Justice Clarence Thomas, he represents the most consistent originalist wing of the court. He was central in the Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade. He has been a strong voice on religious liberty, executive authority limits, and federalism. Whether you agree with him or not, he is not a swing vote. He is not ambiguous. He is ideologically clear. And he's 76 years old now. 76 doesn't automatically mean retirement. Clarence Thomas is older. Justices often serve into their 80s, but timing matters because right now Republicans control the Senate. And that might not be true after the 2026 midterms. That's where this gets interesting. If Alito retires while Republicans hold the Senate and Donald Trump is still in office, Trump would have the opportunity to appoint a younger conservative justice, possibly someone in their 40s. Who could serve for 30 or even 40 years. That's not just a replacement. That's a generational lock on ideological influence. But if Alito waits, if he decides to stay, and Democrats flip the Senate in 2026, then suddenly confirmation becomes nearly impossible. We've seen this movie before. Remember Merrick Garland. When the Senate is controlled by the opposing party, confirmations stall. Negotiations collapse. Seats remain open. So for conservatives, the clock matters. And here's the deeper question. Is this retirement decision going to become part of the 2026 midterm election narrative? Let's rewind to 2018 for a second. When Justice Brett Kavanaugh was nominated, the confirmation hearings were explosive. Accusations, emotional testimony, partisan warfare. At the time, many Republican strategists argued that the Kavanaugh fight energized conservative voters and helped the GOP perform better in the Senate than expected. Some even called it the Kavanaugh effect. Whether that interpretation is fully accurate or not, one thing was clear: Supreme Court confirmations can mobilize voters. They turn abstract constitutional debates into emotional political battles. Now imagine this scenario. It's late 2026. Justice Alito announces retirement. Trump nominates a 45-year-old, deeply conservative appellate judge. Democrats frame the nomination as a threat to abortion rights, LGBTQ rights, executive accountability, environmental regulation, you name it. Republicans frame it as defending the Constitution and protecting judicial originalism. Cable news explodes. Social media explodes. Fundraising emails flood inboxes. Every Senate race suddenly becomes a referendum on the court. That's not theoretical. That's modern American politics. But here's the complication. The political environment in 2026 won't be identical to 2018. Voters have been through multiple confirmation battles. Now, the shock factor is lower. The polarization is deeper. And abortion politics, especially after Dobbs, has shifted voter behavior in complex ways. In some states, it energizes conservative turnout. In others, it boosts Democratic turnout. So the assumption that a confirmation fight automatically benefits Republicans is not guaranteed. Let's talk about the internal dynamics of the court for a moment. Right now, the court is often described as a 6-3 conservative majority. But that oversimplifies things. Chief Justice John Roberts does not always align with the most aggressive conservative positions. Justice Amy Coney Barrett has shown institutional caution in certain cases. Even within the conservative bloc, there are philosophical differences. Alito is not cautious. He is not incremental. He is one of the most ideologically consistent conservative voices on the court. If he retires and is replaced by someone even younger and equally committed to originalism, that could actually solidify the conservative direction long term. But if he waits too long and Democrats gain Senate control, the risk isn't necessarily that a liberal justice replaces him. Confirmations could simply freeze. A seat could remain vacant for months or even years, depending on political control. That possibility alone creates pressure. Now let's think about this from Trump's perspective. A Supreme Court nomination by Donald Trump could very well become a powerful political rallying point. Trump has long viewed his judicial appointments as one of his greatest accomplishments. Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Barrett. For many conservative voters, the court is the crown jewel of the Trump legacy. A new nomination would reinforce that narrative, but it also creates risk. Confirmation battles are unpredictable. Opposition research digs deep. Personal histories are scrutinized. Media narratives spiral quickly. What starts as a strategic opportunity can become a political headache if something controversial emerges. And remember, midterm elections are often referendums on the party in power. If Republicans are defending Senate seats in difficult states, a polarizing confirmation fight could complicate those races rather than simplify them. So what does Justice Alito himself want? That's harder to read. Supreme Court justices care deeply about legacy. They think in decades, not news cycles. Alito has served nearly 20 years. He has been central in reshaping constitutional law in areas like abortion and religious liberty. Does he feel his work is complete? Or does he believe there are still major precedents he wants to influence? Another factor is internal court dynamics. There have been reports over the past couple of years that Alito's influence within the majority has fluctuated. Writing major opinions is one marker of influence. Coalition building is another. Justices are human. They are aware of their standing among colleagues. If Alito believes his strongest impact is already behind him, retirement becomes more attractive. If he believes there are major battles ahead on executive power, regulatory authority, or administrative state limits, he may prefer to stay. Then there's the raw political calculation. If Republicans lose the Senate in 2026, the window closes, and everyone in Washington knows it. Here's what makes this especially significant. Control of the Supreme Court is one of the few truly long-term levers of power in American politics. Presidents come and go. Congress flips every 2 years, but a 40-year-old justice can shape constitutional interpretation for an entire generation. So when we talk about whether Alito retires, we're not just talking about one seat. We're talking about whether conservatives try to lock in a durable majority before the political map potentially shifts. Now, will this dominate headlines tomorrow? Probably not. Retirement speculation is often subtle until it suddenly isn't. But if signals start appearing, reduced public appearances, timing of book releases, speeches about legacy, the media narrative could shift quickly. And if Democrats sense that a vacancy is coming, they will start framing Senate races accordingly. Elect us to stop another hard-right justice. That messaging writes itself. Republicans would respond with their own version. Elect us to protect the Constitution from activist judges. And just like that, a single retirement becomes a national campaign theme. So how likely is retirement? Honestly, no one outside the court truly knows. Justices guard their decisions carefully. But politically speaking, the logic of retiring while the Senate is friendly is strong. Historically, justices often try to step down when a president aligned with their judicial philosophy can choose their successor. The uncertainty is what makes 2026 interesting. If Republicans feel vulnerable in the Senate, pressure for a pre-midterm retirement increases. If they feel confident, Alito may feel less urgency. Here's the bottom line. Justice Samuel Alito is not a celebrity justice. He's not constantly in front of cameras. But in the power structure of American government, he occupies one of the most consequential seats in the country. And whether he stays or goes could shape the ideological direction of the Supreme Court well into the 2040s. So when you hear speculation about retirement, don't treat it as gossip, treat it as strategic positioning. Because in modern American politics, Supreme Court seats are not just legal posts. They are political capital, and 2026 may become the moment when that capital is contested again. The question isn't simply, will Alito retire? The real question is, who controls the Senate when he does? And that's why this quiet conversation in Washington could become one of the defining political stories of the next midterm cycle. Thanks for watching.